applying our go-to-market strategy. We're going to apply the Dare to Grow model to simplify go-to-market. This is, I think, as simple as you can make your go-to-market one strategy, and then compartmentalize so that you identify where do you want to test tactics to support various conversions that you're looking for. So let's start right where a lot of people would start. Let's start with the money. Okay. So if our objective is to acquire customers, when you acquire a customer, you acquire a customer for the first time one time. So if our objective is to acquire customers, this is where we want to go. We might split those customers into two segments. It might be SMB and it might be enterprise. Just typically, that's what you'll see inside an organization, SMB and enterprise. You might have them all combined together the first time you're going to market. But let's look at this. The first thing we want to do is figure out, how do we acquire customers? Inside this area, there's going to be a very important process. This is your sales process for forecasting, which shows how does something start, validate, and move all the way over to closed won. Now, there's a couple of different steps in between. One of them for me is qualify. Another one is fit. Another one is client confirmed fit. Second one might be proposal approved, and then closed won. So now we've got different stages inside the process. One of the cool things about these stages is as a customer goes through your gate, your probability of sale should increase. So acquisition, we should have a sales process for forecasting. This, if you've seen me talk about this before, I could refer to this in the context of chutes and ladders, because you might go from validation to qualification to fit, find new people, and then loop backward back to qualification. Or you might move from fit on our side to client confirmed fit. Something changes in the requirements, and now we have to go back and forth between fit and client confirmed fit. This is all probability of sale type stuff. That's sales process for the perspective of forecasting. There's another thing that happens here at the same time, which is customer decision-making process. What's the journey that they kind of go through, which is more like the game of life. But this first piece, this is all about client acquisition. Well, what happens before you acquire a customer? What are the things that need to be in place before you acquire a customer? Oh, I like to think about this in the context of a three-pronged strategy for demand. Demand might be one-to-many. This is the area where I have historically struggled. That's the marketing stuff. This is the, how do we put really good copy together to help convert people while we're not in the room? So one-to-many, your traditional marketing kind of things. One-to-one, this is direct sales rep outreach, or SDR if you specialize. Early stage, my view is you have the rep do everything. It's a full funnel rep. They create demand, they acquire the customer, and then they identify opportunities for the third area, which is retention and expansion. And we'll get into that in just a moment. Down here, this might be channel or referral partners. So we think of our demand, which gets us to acquisition, converts in this gate. This conversion is validation of an opportunity, which gets us right into this part of the sales process for forecasting. And then you have these stages, looping stages, where you go forward and backward, chutes and ladders, because as you move through each gate, your probability of sale increases, but when things change, you might have to go backwards. And that happens in the process. This is not linear. It's a looping process. Demand, one-to-many, one-to-one, channel. Let's have three approaches that we want to use, three strategies, because if we bet everything on one-to-many, we might fail. If we bet everything on one-to-one, we might fail. If we bet everything on channel partners, we might fail. We have three different approaches. Our likelihood of success, our opportunities, our at-bats start to increase, and the data that we can capture starts to get a bit better. So we have demand, we have acquisition, and then every customer who comes in ideally should grow. So this is retention plus expansion. And the way that I like to look at this is, if we're expanding accounts, we're ultimately going to retain them. If we're expanding the relationship that we have with accounts, expanding the impact that we have with accounts, we're ultimately going to retain them. So let's retain customers through expansion. This is my dare to grow model when it comes to simplifying your approach to go to market. Demand, acquisition, retention, expansion. Now, what's cool about the retention and expansion, you can start to categorize the type of customers that you're working with. Do you have maybe strategic accounts, maybe some general accounts, and maybe we have some accounts that in the testing phase, we're going to be comfortable with them being relatively high churn accounts. By separating into these areas, we can determine where do we want to put time, energy, and attention to improve the likelihood of success and figure out where are our investments paying off best. Now, the other thing that's cool about looking at this in this model, we have a conversion here. At this conversion, we now validate a new opportunity, And even in here in the churn, we might validate a new opportunity. So they start to go through a sales process for forecasting again. I think one of the common mistakes that organizations make is they try to apply a different sales process for acquisition versus retention and expansion. It's confusing your team. So I wouldn't do that. So let's simplify go-to-market. Demand, what are we doing there? Acquisition, what are we doing there? Retention plus expansion. Have three different options for us on either side for retention and expansion: new products, new services, strategic accounts, specialization, segmentation. And then on the demand side, same thing with the three. One-to-many, one-to-one channel. I'll use this. I'll give you a really good example just to kind of shrink this up and try to do this really tight from a timing standpoint. When it comes to the Phoenix Club, we have some one-to-many things that we're doing. We have a company page on LinkedIn. We have some posts that we'll put out on that company page. We are working on some of the things that are available on the website to help draw people in. There's an update to a newsletter that we're going to start posting again from a Catalyst Acts perspective. So that's the one-to-many piece. Website, newsletter. One-to-one, this is where we get into individual conversations that we have with people. This might be directly inside my network where I'm having a direct conversation with someone who I know who fits the profile, entrepreneur, solopreneur, someone who wants to think differently and do differently, fits the profile for the Phoenix Club. And that'll be one-to-one. And then referrals, this is going to be where we're leaning on other members of the team, people who are already part of the community, to refer others, bring others in to it. So we have channel, we have one-to-one, we have one-to-many. Just another way to start to look at how that applies, how this dare to grow model applies in that instance. Now, when people come in as customers, ideally with success, they start to refer others. They shout from the rooftops about the experience that they have and the impact that it's having and the growth that they're showing inside of their business. Hope that was simple for you. It took just a little bit under 9 minutes. Dare to grow: demand, acquisition, retention, expansion. Compartmentalize in each side of these individual sections. Focus time, energy, and attention to address the conversion points as you move from left to right, and create opportunities for you to grow. Hope you have an awesome